Summit here in Nazareth Expo Center, where President Ramaphosa has just delivered a closing remark, really closing the curtain on South Africa's presidency of the G20. Well, legacy will continue. There's a number of legacy projects. We have seen a number of working meetings as well. We're quite happy that the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Deputy Minister Alvin Bottas, is here with us to really sum it up for us and what did this mean for the country. And I think just reflecting from the beginning where we started the plenary, immediately at the plenary, we heard that the leaders are going to deliberate on what has been a great consensus as far as the declaration for the South Africa's 2025 President of the G20. Deputy Minister Alvin Bottas, thank you so much for your time. Now, how do we sum up South Africa's presidency of G20, which culminated into this declaration?
Well, Sally, we actually made sure this becomes an African G20 presidency. That was the ambition from President Ramaphosa right from the beginning. So we were fortunate to, for the very first time, have the African Union in the G20. You would recall that South Africa have actually applied all diplomatic channels of engagement to ensure that ultimately a decision gets taken to have the AU to be in the G20. So that obviously have boosted our confidence and morale that the continental body will be able to work with us very closely as we pursued our objectives of the G20. The second issue, what concerns Africa, was put on the table and there was concurrence. If you look at issues about debt financing, in particular for low-income countries, the majority of which are on the African continent, if you look at harnessing critical minerals for Africa's own economic development, that was embraced as important discussions to be had. And then, there's two interrelated strategic priorities of our G20, which spoke about the issues about the climate financing, mobilization for just energy transition partnership, and then, of course, disaster resilience issues. And, leaders have agreed that the future of the world economy is the green economy. So that is what the G20 unequivocally have agreed to. And what that means, the financial symmetry and support that will then be flow forward for South Africa's those two strategic pillars will obviously take place, in the U.S. presidency, but also beyond, because that was the important engagement, that all of us will continue to engage on the declaration, because the 30-page leaders' declaration, in essence, is the ambition of the G20. It's an expression of the accumulative sum total of the ambition of the G20 leaders. So that ambition, Lali, will find expression into the US presidency, into the UK presidency, and beyond. So we are obviously elated that we managed to cross the bridge, that we managed to ensure that there is a purposeful unity, that the change of the economic and financial architecture through the G20, it's urgent and it's needed, in particular, given the fact that we are exactly 5 years away from the date which we're supposed to have reached the Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 of them, which is anti-poverty in its makeup.
Deputy Minister, let's talk about the consensus. There's a number of issues that you've mentioned. Now, a lot of people are saying that with the next presidency, which is the United States, that participate in a number of meetings throughout the year at various tracks as well. Now, even in the finance, they're quite instrumental. Even even on the business 20, they were here. How do we going to make sure that, as much as there's a momentum on the finance track, there is also a consensus and a momentum that South Africa, or those issues that it has put on the agenda before, that some of those issues that are going to touch on the legacy and the global legacy as far as social development and economic development are concerned, that some of those issues continue to find expression on a political front as well. How is South Africa going to maneuver to make sure that it can pursue those agenda items it put in under its presidency as thematic areas, given the fact that some of these issues you did express that it will be done on a bilateral, maybe with the EU, it will be done on a multilateral, and also in some key bilateral countries, maybe on the Nordic or elsewhere.
Yeah, look, Ali, we obviously have a collective responsibility because, like I've said, this is our priorities. Those priorities was agreed to, through the leaders' declaration. So all countries have agreed to that. Your regional economic communities, your RECs in Africa, your European Union Commission have agreed to that. So I think what we are going to do is to obviously continue to pursue this outcome through, in particular, multilateral forums, such as the ones that we have mentioned. But equally, we are a member of the Troika.
Yeah.
So we'll be in the Troika, South Africa, with the US, with the UK. Because remember, Tlali, we are a founding member of the G20. So it is in our interest to ensure the work of the G20 continues. Of course, the Americans will outline its own strategic priorities. And as an integral part of the Troika, we will work to support them because our standpoint is about Ubuntu diplomacy. Our philosophy throughout the G20, where presidents, where prime ministers spoke about the African Ubuntu philosophy, and our approach towards our G20 is all about doing good to the next person, doing good to the next member state, and making sure that we play our role to ensure that their G20 presidency becomes a successful presidency. That is our unique obligation, notwithstanding the unilateral and unfortunate decision and subsequent utterances that they have made against, the South African G20 presidency.
Yeah.
So I think we have a good footing to pursue this through various multilateral forums, and I think we will ultimately ensure what is needed for Africa, what is needed for South Africa, will find expression in decisions that multilateral structures ultimately will have to take. Here we speak about the workings of the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization. So for us, that is key and critical. Remember, we will be continuous to be engaged with the civil financing pact. So discussions will go on.
I think yourself, with fellow Deputy Minister Tadi Moraka and Minister Ronald Lamula, you will have your work cut out to make sure that the momentum is maintained. And I think the shape going forward, also in the coming months, to make sure that you navigate those terrain quite in detail as well. I'm thinking that you will have your work cut out.
Well, yes. Look, let me first extend appreciation for the South African Foreign Service, which have once again showcased the depth of its diplomatic repository. Actually, Tlali, we stand back not to anyone in terms of the art of diplomacy. I think we have actually mastered it. We have shown humility with being resolute, but we have also demonstrated our tactical powers and considerations. So all credit obviously to members of the South African Foreign Service working with the public servants, in particular in the National Treasury in South Africa, and of course everyone that participated in the engagements and the working groups. Our absolute gratitude, because South Africa have all converged at one point and have demonstrated that under our stewardship, the G20 will become probably as successful as it could have been. And this is what we have demonstrated. And, kudos obviously to Shepa Dango, who is also the Director General, Show Shepa Ambassador Mbongo, to have done what they have done.
Yeah.
So I think we are very happy. I think we are in a good space. I mean, with the Sherpas, we have actually had high-level engagements across the African continent in different countries on the G20, what it means for Africa, and that demonstrated our commitment. And we will obviously have to ensure we navigate purposefully. Using our key pillars of our foreign policy, we will continue to execute and advance our national interests, working with your industrialized economies. We'll engage more with the African continent for our solidarity, and of course our global South solidarity, and using multiplicity of multilateral organizations actually to achieve that.
Yeah. Deputy Minister Advent Wouters, let me thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.